Hey Samuel, how you doing? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at your composition. I'm a bit uneasy with the sliced circle with the food. I want to talk about that. I think it's got some potential, but it's not. The composition isn't quite meeting the requirements, and we'll go over that as well. I chose a knife-based set off it's similar to my own set, but is bronze more colorful than black? I'm guessing that you're referring to the handle. Black's going to create more contrast, which might end up being a little more dramatic than this color, this kind of brown bronze color. So that's something certainly to keep in mind. And then you talk about the grid. So all right, excellent. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now I want to talk about the composition. I want to talk about typography, and I want to talk about what I would consider to be something that might provide some further and additional visual engagement in the actual composition itself. So in terms of typography, we've got a couple of issues. Now, the first thing is that you're using all serif typefaces. Now, in this week's lectures, we talked about mixing serif with sans serif. So I'd like to see you either switch out the headline to a sans serif and use serif for the body copy, or conversely, change out the body copy to sans serif and then use a serif for the headline. Okay. In terms of typography, right, this rag right here is pretty bad, and this one is as well. I know these are only 1 and 2, 2 and 3 line text blocks, but nonetheless, you still have to pay attention to rags. One of the things that we discovered in this week's lectures is that you don't want to have these kind of wavy patterns. So you should have, this should go long, short. This line should be longer than the second line, not shorter. The third line should be longer than the second line. First long, second short, third long, fourth short. Instead of going first is longest, then second is shorter than that, the third is shorter than that, and then the fourth is the longest. Do you see what I'm saying? So instead of going like this, you want it to go long, short, long, short, long, short. That's how rags work, this long, short pattern without any real noticeability in the length of lines. So in other words, you don't want a line that's really long out to here and then another one that's really a short over here and then another one really long. You just kind of want to kind of stagger those lines. Okay. Trying to think of. Okay, so this, for example, wouldn't be bad rags right here. You got short, long, short, then that's a little shorter, but then that's longer. So that's not too bad, although it does have that wave pattern right there. Let's try to find another example of good rags. This type. Here's a good example of rags. There's long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. This is great rags right here. And it just so happens that the window is open. And this is responsive text, right? So it would change as I open the window. But this is a good example. If this were print text, these would be considered excellent rags. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. And then, of course, the last line with no real noticeable difference between the longest and the shortest lines, so that would be considered. And you can review rags in this week's lectures. Let's go back to your composition, and here we are. Now this is, I think this is interesting at first, but right now this is the dominant image, the background image. This big circle with all the color in it is the dominant image, and as we know, the object must be the dominant image. So right now, we've got some inconsistencies here in the project requirements. We've also got some inconsistencies in the fact that we have to include an image of someone using the knife. Okay. Finally, you have to show an image of what is the result of using the object. And I think these cut vegetables is a great example of that. So you've got your headline, your body copy. Now, what I would do is I would say you've got a knife set and then 17 different knives. I would just combine these two type blocks right here. So you don't need a separate subhead right there because it's dealing with the same thing, the knife set. So let's just take this type here and add it to this paragraph here. Okay. This looks like a caption. It's set in italic. It looks and behaves like a caption, but it's larger than the body copy. So you've got some compromised hierarchy here. Also, this type block here, this should be aligned with the headline. So this should come down right here, establishing a good solid left margin. Okay. Typographic color is a little bit dark, and you're using serif typeface here, so you want to open your tracking up a little bit and also open your leading up a little bit. This is really super tight. It's difficult to read because the typographic color is so dense. It's very densely packed typography right here. So again, open up your tracking and also increase your leading between the lines. Okay, now we talk about this circular image, and to me, it's kind of interesting because to me, it kind of mimics like this julienne vegetables. So julienne is like the long, thin cuts. So that kind of mimics that. So it creates a little bit of a conceptual tie between the knives and this circular composition of images. However, I agree with you. I don't think it's as effective as it could be. Now, one of the things I think that I would recommend is we have to have the knife as the dominant image. So is this an interesting image right here, this knife set? It's okay, but I don't think it's the most interesting image. I think this is a much more interesting image. Now, hear me out on this, and here's what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend we get rid of this composition right here. We're going to keep that, but let's put it aside for now. We're going to get rid of these two little knives here and just concentrate on this. We're going to increase the size of this knife. Watch my cursor. I'm talking about taking the point, taking just the point right to the edge of the page. And let's get that knife about that big. Huge in the composition, right? So it is the dominant image in the composition. You can bleed the end, although I think the end is kind of interesting. So I would just include the entire knife, the whole width of the composition, okay? Then what you can do is you can come over on one of your grid lines, start your headline, okay? Left align your subhead, then your body copy, okay? Big knife down here. All right, then we need an image which is the result of using. So what you can do is you can just take the image of the cut vegetables. Boy, I think it's going to be really interesting just to take the cut vegetables and just place them in here without a background, completely mask the background. So you just have a bunch of cut vegetables, okay? Then you have components. What I would end up doing here is I would end up taking this as a component because technically it is. It's the knife holder. And then assemble that somewhere in your composition. And then one more component, maybe the scissors. Maybe you could just take a small image of the scissors pointing upwards, open, right? So so in summary, you've got headline, subhead, body copy, large knife, vegetables chopped, masked out, so there's no background. They're just interacting with the white background. And then the knife set itself, and then maybe even someone holding the scissors or holding a knife in a smaller image, holding the image or holding the knife. Okay, and that will definitely cover all the project requirements. So, and then watch what I said about type. Watch your typographic hierarchy. Watch your leading and kerning, typographic color. This subhead right here seems to be a little bit small. As a matter of fact, that subhead seems to be smaller than the body copy for the type size for the body copy. So increase the subhead. Okay, then you have your paragraph of body copy, and then you'll start adding captions. The captions should be the smallest, should be smaller than the headline and the body copy. And the caption should be placed close enough to the image that the viewer doesn't confuse the caption with something else. For example, this caption right here, we don't know if it's associated with this image or with this image because it's kind of right here in the middle and kind of nowhere, no man's land. So make sure that we talk about grouping and proximity. The caption should be in close proximity to the image that they are captioning. Okay, so somewhere over there. If we wanted to add a caption to this, close to it. See what I'm saying? Caption to this, close to it, and so on and so forth. Okay, so good start, good bones on the start. Just a few areas that need to be addressed in terms of typographic alignment, typographic hierarchy, rags, typographic color, and then, of course, the adherence to the project specifications and that dominant image being the object itself. Okay, those are my recommendations. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know and I'll be glad to clarify. Thank you.